Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to Chair League Division 3 games. I apologize if my voice sounds a little weird. I'm a little bit under the weather and have been slowly losing my voice all day. So joining me to carry the cast this evening, my good buddy Mitchell. How's it going, my friend?
I'm doing pretty well today. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
So two Division 3 games. First one should be starting here in just a couple minutes. Will be a best of 3 and it will be Whoop, let me bring that up. It will be Mana Tap That versus Echo Squad Gaming. Game 1 will be on Braxis Holdout, one of my very favorite maps, and I believe one of yours as well.
Yeah, I love Braxis Holdout. It's such a I don't know why I love it so much because at the same time I feel like it's one of the more snowballing maps. It's one of those maps where one mistake ends it all. But I think that tension throughout the entirety of a Braxis Holdout match is what makes it so exciting because it really can go like a match on Braxis Holdout can go any way at any time, and it's exciting to see that dynamic and how teams mess around with it. And I love the addition of things like the regeneration globe, regenerator. I guess that's at in both of those lanes is such a fun like addition to I think a Heroes of the Storm map in general. Um, and I think it's themed perfectly for the StarCraft theme and everything like that. I love the Zerg wave. I think it looks cool. It sounds great. It's got a great mechanic to it. So yeah, I really like this map a lot.
Yeah, the globe generators were a nice way to offset the otherwise lack of globes on a two-lane map, and it actually makes this map one of the easiest ones to complete the globe quests on because of them, which you wouldn't normally think of as a two-way map. So I thought that was a two-lane map. I thought that was a pretty creative way for the development team to offset the lack of globes on a two-lane map was with those generators.
It's a natural kind of progression of logic there that makes a lot of sense, right? Because it's like if it takes too long to rotate in between these lanes for double soak, and if we're gonna have what almost half the cast be just completely useless without the regeneration globe talent, then that hurts your map design a lot. I think.
And the music on both of the StarCraft maps is really good. Mostly the only time I turn on the music, to be honest, is on those maps because it's so good. And one of the
Yeah.
interesting things on Braxis is even though the lanes are not geographically very far from one another. Just the layout of the terrain means it's not a particularly fast rotation. You kind of have to go the long way because there is no short way. You either go the long, safe way or the long, aggressive rotation. So even though geographically the 2 points aren't not that far from each other, it actually takes longer than you would think to rotate from one point to the other.
It really does, especially when you consider the fact that like sometimes when you actually use the minimap or if you use like the game's pathing, the shortest distance is actually to cross like along the boss and then come down on the other side for some reason. I guess just because of the way that the map has panned out because it is asymmetrical.
Right.
But that can cause you a lot of issues too if you're not paying attention to what you're doing.
And this map prioritizes wave clear, of course, both to control the lanes and to defend if you happen to lose the Zerg Swarm objective. Also prioritizes being able to stand in one spot and hold that point. So somebody like a Johanna or a Chen can do that really well. Artanis can do that well if they let him proc his shields. Or anybody that has a Morales healing beam on them can do that too, which is why you'll see on the pro scene they really prioritize Morales on this map.
Yeah, we've messed around with her. I also like double tank on this map a lot. I think it's kind of necessary.
I agree.
Um, to holding those points for as long as possible, um, and in also to defend the wave too, because a lot of tanks now have like really good wave clear, so you can combine something like a Johanna and Leoric and just be able to clear out that wave really easily. Of course, it's not always a good idea to plan too much on this map to clear the wave. Essentially, that means that you're kind of drafting to lose, essentially, which you never really want to do. But
No,
it's not a bad idea on this map to grab somebody, a singular hero like a Jaina or like a Kael'thas or a Gul'dan,
for sure.
just to deal with it that way.
And a lot of this, because this map physically is small, but for the smaller maps in this game, globals are really highly rated due to the quick rotations between the 2 points. The smaller maps generally don't have that high priority on the globals, but this one really does. That's another reason you'll see the pros go for medic is the medevac, and you'll see Dahaka on this map all the time because he can solo that top lane and burrow down. So for a small map, you will see a lot of globals and a lot of movement between the teams. And from a caster's perspective, I think observing battles on this particular map are actually one of the more difficult ones because there's always kind of stuff going on in the game.
Oh, there is always something happening somewhere in the map. If you're concentrating on one map, you're missing something good that's happening in another map. It's like that dynamic that I was talking about, that kind of tension that runs throughout this map bleeds through, I think, into most players because, like, when I'm on this map, I tend to get pretty hyper aggressive because it's like there's only 2 forts, there's only 2 keeps, there's only so much area to push, there's only so much area to be in. And if you can make the other team feel really uncomfortable really early, it actually starts to kind of swing things in your favor because they are then less likely to go in on a beacon blindly, for example, or they're less likely to chase you across the map, or they're less likely to catch you trying to steal, their easy camp, something like that. It just makes for such an exciting battleground.
Yeah, and I would argue on this map more than any other, the first level fortifications are more important because if you take out the enemy's level 1 fortifications, the first forts, it really helps you control those points easier. And also, of course, the healing fountains are really important to try to contest those objective areas as well. So really being able to take out your enemy's level 1 fortifications gives you a little bit of an advantage while you're combating over those satellite uplinks.
One card from League Explorers in Standard.
Those first level fortifications are so important to like the health of your team on the map. Like if you lose both of those in a first turn-in, you all of a sudden have a game that is going to be massively hard to come back from. And that's why sometimes people don't like it as well, because it is a very snowballing map. It can be one of those things where you just get the lead early and you hold on to it, and there's nothing you really need to do to win that game. Or if you're us, which we are, you throw it for a boss halfway through the game, and or towards the end of the game, and then give the other team their win.
I will say, Mitchell, though. Oh, hey, thanks, man. I tend to use the headset when my wife and daughter might be here because the mic picks up all the background stuff. There is nobody that can take a mid-game boss and throw like we can. We are really good at that.
Except for maybe, who was it? Was it Team 8? They made Gale Force throw at boss with a really aggressive invasion call. It was a beautiful play. It was over this last weekend.
Yeah, that was a really fun series actually. Those two teams. I even though Team 8 won it, I actually think Gale Force looked a little bit better, and it's just in the clutch moments Team 8 made the plays and Gale Force didn't. But over the duration of the series, I thought Gale Force actually looked a little better.
Yeah, I thought so too, for the most part.
But close, but very close.
Yeah, Team 8's just a massively good team. All right, let's get into
this
the draft here. So first ban Artanis, not surprising. Second ban Ragnaros, also not surprising. We're going to have our first pick Sylvanas for, I would assume that's Mana Tap, that, right?
Mana Tap, that is on the blue team, correct.
Okay, good. First pick Sylvanas, not a bad pick. They are now hoping to win at least 50% of a beacon every single time. If they can't, Sylvanas becomes an extremely limiting factor, but she didn't get banned out, so leaving her there for the other team to get is a little dangerous. So we're going to have a Gul'dan pickup and a Malfurion pickup for Echo Squad, and those are two really good picks. I love Malfurion. He's like the best healer in the game, in my opinion, right now. He can modify into good wave clear at the same time, and I believe his affects monsters, which would be the Zerg wave would be classified as monsters, and Gul'dan, which is like massively good wave clear. Really good against double warrior comps that you often find on this map, and just massive amounts of damage that come out from that guy.
Not only that, his Horrify gives really good point control, which is handy for the satellite uplinks and for the boss both. I like both those picks. The Sylvanas a little less. I mean, she does good damage, has good mobility, but her strength is really in kind of a win more, so she helps snowball, but her trait is much less effective defensively than offensively, so you really want to try to win early with her to make her most effective. Echo Squad following up with Ariel, who's awesome on this map, especially with Vala. Vala can power her up her heels. Ariel's whip has really nice wave clear. And the fact that she doesn't have mana means she can last in that bottom lane a pretty long time, because you can really have these long, drawn-out battles for the satellites. And the fact that she's a mana-less hero really helps her on this particular battleground.
Especially when you pair her up with an amazing battery like Vala, who just is able to put out
For sure.
Also a massive amount of damage across both her auto attacks, and if you build into both her Q and her W, both offer you massive amounts of burst and just good general damage that gets out there. And she's really fast, she's squirrely, she's hard to get when she gets her full hatred stacks and everything, and even if she builds into auto attack, that becomes even worse. But yeah, it's an okay draft on the side of Mana Tap that so far. I still like the draft on the other side a little bit better with a Diablo ban. That's a really good ban. Diablo and Oriole are a pretty bad combo on this map. Particularly, you can get stunned into a wall twice by people who will shove you into them, once with a whip and once with a giant claw. So it becomes really dangerous to leave them out. And an ETC ban from Mana Tap that. Another really, really, really good hero for this battleground. Lots of little corridors, lots of places to be cut off by a power slide, and that ever-present danger of a mosh or even a stage dive for the global presence on both of those beacons is pretty scary. So it's a good ban overall.
Yeah, blue team, Mana Tap that has their backline filled out. They really need to get some beef, though. All of their heroes are very squishy, and that's fine. But I really want to see two frontline burlier heroes for their last two picks here.
Burly frontline.
Yeah, and speaking of burly frontline, Echo Squad Gaming responds with Muradin, and Rexxar, I assume, will be in the solo lane. He is so good at that when he plays it well, because you can just have Misha hold the point, and Rexxar can soak and push the lane. And it's really hard for any one hero to contest Rexxar, so that really forces you into a conundrum, because you're almost picking which lane you want to lose when he's played well.
Or at least which of the beacons you don't want to channel at that moment.
Exactly. Great pick with the Johanna. Great wave clear. She can hold the point. That's some of the beef I was saying that I wanted to see from Mana Tap that. And I assume we're going to see some kind of second tank. Dahaka, there it is. So in the top solo lane here, you're likely going to see a Dahaka versus a Rexxar. Wave clear advantage to Dahaka, but I think equally skilled, that's probably a lane Rexxar will win.
If not just because he's got 2 health bars, probably.
Yep.
Dahaka's got really, really, really great wave clear. He holds down a lane super, super well, and he does have that global to give that little bit of extra oomph to whoever decides to lane against the Rexxar in the first place, if it's not him. We're going to see the last pickup here. I'm afraid Mana Tap that might not have enough damage on their team to deal with somebody like Muradin and Rexxar. And I would imagine another assassin is going to come out here from Echo Squad. If not an assassin, then a specialist that does high damage like an Ezevo or something.
You literally
Tychus comes out.
Took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say the exact same thing.
But an even better pick with the Tychus will absolutely shred Dahaka down, and Johanna, for that matter, for the most part. and still offers plenty of wave clear with his overkill for the most part, and his grenade is really good against the Baneling rush that happens. So if you're ever losing and you are on Tychus, throw your grenade at all the Banelings that come because it one-shots them. This is going to be a good match.
Yeah, I like both teams' draft. I think they're both pretty comparable, so it's going to come down to which team executes better. If I were to give one team a slight advantage, I would say it would be Echo Squad Gaming. I think they just have a little bit more point control with Rexar and Gul'dan's Horrify, and that's just a small. And that's, I think they're both really equally good comps. But if I had to pick one for that very small reason, I think it would be Echo Squad Gaming.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And I'm gonna be interested to see how this Gul'dan plays out, because paired with something like a Rexar, you all of a sudden make those Vala and Sylvanas backline heroes have to inch forward that much more in order to hit targets that are valuable, and so that's going to actually help Gul'dan to get his damage out a lot, because it's going to be able to bring out those targets that he normally can't hit. As long as he is building, Echo of Corruption off of those two frontliners, then he's going to have all the damage he needs to take care of those backliners when they need to get around Anisha in order to be doing the damage that they need to be doing.
So introducing Echo Squad Gaming, the red team, we have Kyle on Muradin, Azrek on Gul'dan, Senlar on Malfurion, Noldat on Tychus, and taking Rexar in the top lane will be Barber.
And for mana tap that, we're going to have Gildrick on Vala, Alpha Wolf on Sylvanas, Snow Wabbit on Johanna, Wafflecopter on Dahaka, and Blingo Bronson on Oriole.
So in there,
we have all 5 members of Mana Tap that going down, trying to get some Sylvanas cheese. We're going to have a mini wave shutdown, tower shutdown. Vala's going to be super exposed along with the Muradin, but we're going to have a lot of hullabaloo over a little bit of nothing, as Rexar is going to take over that top lane, helping Echo Squad with a little bit of an XP lead right now.
Vala might die from the poison. She had 17 hit points before Ariel barely hit her with a mini heal just to keep her from going down. So a lot of damage and a slight advantage early in that little skirmish to Echo Squad Gaming. When you're on Braxis Holdout, one of the games within the games that can give you an advantage in this early laning phase is who controls the globe regeneration, because it gives your team extra sustain within lane.
It also is a really good just way of dealing with denying somebody else a globe. Sometimes when I don't even need a globe, I will go grab it just so that the other person doesn't get it.
Yeah, I do the exact same thing, and I like the design of the map in particular in that the designers put it away from the satellite uplink, so you have to choose to leave the uplink to get the regen generator, and if you don't do that at the right time, you can actually give up the satellite uplink because of it.
First beacon phase is going to come out, as we predicted. Rexar's solo laning in the top against Dahaka. So that lane is probably going to go over to Rexar and Nisha. We're going to have Sylvanas rush in immediately to the bottom to cap it, to stop Echo Squad from channeling both.
I will say I was very curious to see how this 4-man will go, and in the early game, it is Anatap that controlling the lower lane, but Vala very low and is able to escape from Muradin's hammer. And they need to control this bottom lane because Rexar probably will not lose that top lane when he's up there by himself. You can see both times we've checked up here, Rexar full life, Dahaka not so much. He just cannot get the big bear off the satellite uplink.
This is going to be a little hard for our buddies down here because Echo Squad, because they have a lot of range down here, and that's going to be canceled out by the fact that Sylvanas shuts down those towers and part of the defense. So, 4-man that's down here, Vala vaulting in. She doesn't have her escape, but it's going to be all good as she tries to focus down Muradin. Almost going to be taken down.
So
Sylvanas can't be one to believe. Ooh, there we go. There's a Tychus for all of her trouble.
So now with the low health bars on the side of Echo Squad Gaming and the retreats that will allow Johanna to rotate up, and this is what they needed to do because they won't be able to take it by themselves. Johanna has to come up and help. Rexar actually pretty low life, so Dahaka was doing some work up here when we weren't paying attention, and Anatap that will take the early double satellite uplink, and Muradin already has to go back. Gul'dan going back. I don't see this not being a 100-0 right now, just because Echo Squad Gaming is so much on their back foot. Tyke is too far forward, taking a lot of damage, and the Roots unable to save him. I believe that was Vala confirming that kill, though I'm not positive.
Looks like we're going to have Rexar taking back the top at close to 90% for Manatap. That's going to be really hard. We're going to have an aggressive camp steal here for Manatap. They're going to try to go after this user camp, and it's probably not going to be sniffed out unless Gul'dan thinks he can do something about it. He doesn't get there in time, and he has to retreat. That was really, really, really risky, but smart and well played. They did it at the exact right time, fast enough. Now, Echo Squad has a little bit of a bully on their hands. I mean, we even rotated Tychus up to the top here, while 4 members of Manatap that are still down at bottom.
At the early game here.
And I guess Rexar was having some trouble dealing with Rexar up there, or with the Dahaka up there.
You know, that was a risky Merc invasion, but it was a calculated risk. They could see that Echo Squad Gaming was struggling with low health bars and were trying to kind of recover their team's resources by hearthing, etc. So I really like that calculated, risky invasion there. And Echo Squad Gaming, for the first time, moving forward in this bottom lane. We've seen them get bullied back mostly. Muradin has been taking so much damage, and there he goes. The combination of the archers in Vala and Sylvanas confirming the kill. Gul'dan certainly going to go down as well. Tychus may as well. Johanna is able to finish the job with her Morning Star, and now this bottom fort with Sylvanas most certainly going to fall. And you would imagine...
That was disrespectful, man. Did you see her just come in there like that? Saying, no, you're not going to get away. I'm going to kill you right now.
I would imagine they will also secure the top satellite uplink, although so far they seem content to push out.
First 4 already down for Manatap at the bottom lane. Absolutely fantastic. Crucial to the 2-level lead that they have right now. I believe that they're going to try to rotate up on here Rexar to at least finish off this last 12% of the beacons. Muradin's going to try to rush in here. I don't think
it's not going to be in time, no.
Yeah, definitely not.
And this is danger zone here for Echo Squad Gaming. They are about a level and a third behind. The first Zerg 100-0 rush will most certainly confirm the level 10 advantage for them, and that's with a Sylvanas. So if Manatap that plays this right, combined with a mistake or two by Echo Squad Gaming, and this game could get out of hand very quickly. There are the level 10s confirmed for Manatap that. Crystal Aegis for Ariel, Isolation for Dahaka, Blessed Shield for Johanna, Wailing Arrow for Sylve, and Strafe for Vala. Those heroics confirmed to use to kill Muradin one more time. Echo Squad Gaming on the full retreat here. Rexar doing his best to split soak in the side lane. This could be a very early game here, the way it's looking, Mitch.
You know, the more that I watch this, the more that I realize that I don't think Echo Squad had an answer for Sylvanas in this game. They are already putting damage on core before the wave.
This is going to be game,
there.
I think.
They've also got, I mean, Rexar needs to come back right now, and if he doesn't, I think that's a mistake. I mean, they are, that's it. Echo Squad wanders in, loses members to the defense. What else are they going to do?
So Manatap that
less than 8 minutes.
Takes game 1 in 7 minutes and 49 seconds. A very dominant showing, but this is a best of 3, Mitchell. And as we found out in our scrim last night, you can get wrecked in game 1 and come back and win that sucker.
No, we weren't wrecked quite that hard.
Not that hard, but we were wrecked and came back and won the 3-game set. What's fun about playing in and casting these best of 3 series is you get to see the in-game adjustments. They are so much fun. to maybe watch a respect ban or targeted bans on certain players if one hero in particular wrecked you. So round 1 in dominant fashion goes to mana tap that. And now we are going on to game 2. It will be mana tap that's map selection, and Echo Squad Gaming will get first ban, first pick. Well, if you're in comms in Echo Squad Gaming, Mitchell, what are you saying right now?
Not much, probably, because I'm a quiet guy. However, imagining normal people are talking, they're probably just discussing a game plan. I would imagine, I don't think that we saw bad play out of Echo Squad Gaming aside from the Muradin. It was the only element of their mechanics that really stood out to me as something that was the reason why they lost.
He took a lot of free damage and was definitely too far in front of his team a couple of times that led to some deaths that may not have happened otherwise, for sure.
There was just a lot of misplay there. So that kind of stands out as a red flag to me. However, best of threes are best of threes for a reason. I'm thinking, okay, we let Sylvanas go on a really snowbally map. We were kind of asking for it because we also didn't draft any counter sword. We didn't draft a Samuro, a Kerrigan, a Illidan to deal with what is happening on that backline. And so it got really hard for them to figure out how to defend themselves while not being able to have their structures around them. I would imagine they're looking towards the next game a little bit better. We've got Cursed Hollow coming up, and pretty even balanced map. I would say one of my favorite maps of the game, even though I suck at it. Apparently, my win rate is really low on it, but I really, really enjoy this map. Just because it's symmetrical, it's large, there's a lot of room for play. The forests at top and bottom are just areas of this game where so many fun things occur, and where wombos come out and wombos get denied, and boss steals on this map are some of the sickest plays you see in Heroes of the Storm.
Yep, for sure.
I would imagine that there is still a rallying cry over there at Echo Squad, and they're going to be okay going into this one.
That's one of those games that's almost less dispiriting than a close loss where you kind of feel like you'd made a poor decision. It's kind of those, well, shake it off because this wasn't our game and just move on almost. Yep. It's the really heartbreaking ones can really kind of rip the heart out of your team, and we just all have those games sometimes where we don't have it, and when you get a match like that, sometimes it's almost easier to shake it off, like, oh well, let's just move on.
Yeah, and that is the attitude that you have to have if you're going to try to be successful in a competitive environment, even if you're going to give it a shot at all. You have to know that you're going to lose at least 50% of your games, and the ones that you do, especially in a best of 3 series like this, it's going to happen. It's going to be okay. Wrecks and being wrecked are going to occur no matter if it's Division 3 or if it's the Pro Division. It just happens sometimes. So it's just something you got to be in the mindset for. But looks like we're getting all ready and set to go here.
Yeah, we are pretty
all
close.
The members of both teams in here. Oh, we lost somebody.
Cursed Hollow, I think, like Infernal Shrines, are probably the 2 maps that allow for the most different kinds of strategies that can be successful. You can use all kinds of different comps and make different strategic decisions, none of which are inherently better than others. And for those reasons, they're two of my favorite maps because you see so many different strategies, so many different strategic calls, so many different things you can do. There's so many different things on the map other than simply the objectives. And the size of the maps also allow for different strategies that just don't work on the smaller maps. So Cursed Hollow, definitely one of my favorite maps, and probably the most traditional MOBA, quotey fingers, map of any of the Heroes Battlegrounds, I would say.
I would definitely agree with that. It definitely has the look of the most traditional
It does.
MOBAs that are out there. Dahaka first ban from Echo Squad over here. Not a bad ban.
No.
Globals are really powerful on Cursed Hollow, and they already know how that Dahaka plays over on the side of Manatap that, so maybe they're a little scared of it. They don't want him to have that tool.
Not only that, as if there are two heroes that are considered maybe slightly more powerful than the others, Artanis and Ragnaros are probably those, and that allows Echo Squad Gaming to get one of those heroes by not banning them.
Because I would imagine an Artanis ban would come out on the other side. Of course it does for Manatap that. I mean, we do our first ban Artanis just because we hate dealing with him, unless Matt's there and then he can play Artanis.
That's right.
But you know, it sucks to have that swap initiation is just so bad. It's almost a little unhealthy for the game, I feel like. But it can just come out to surprise you out of nowhere, and it can turn engagements around. It can start engagements out of nowhere. It's just a really powerful tool that they don't want to deal with here. And ETC first pickup.
ETC is spectacular. Probably the most, I don't know, traditional solid tank as a primary tank. Both, I will say, a little surprising though they didn't go for the Rag. I would be even more surprised if Manatap that didn't select Rag here. He's good in Hero League, and he's probably even better in like an organized type environment when you can set up that Sulfura Smash, which does so much damage. So while I don't mind the ETC pick per se, I am surprised that it wasn't Rag.
Yeah, I'm surprised it wasn't a lot of things. I'm surprised it wasn't a Malfurion. I'm surprised it wasn't a Vala. I'm surprised it wasn't a Falstad or a Brightwing. I mean, ETC is a great hero. He's seen everywhere all the time, constantly, and sure, if you don't take him here, you're probably going to give it to the other team. But I'm also not sure what this is about over here. We've got a Kerosene and a Tassadar.
Well,
Ryan, what's going on over here?
Well, apparently the casters in this game have no idea what we're talking about. I was going to say I would have guessed the ETC as a comfort pick. I know when our team, it's a comfort pick for our team. It's a hero that I'm comfortable on, and that when we play as a team that we're kind of I don't want to keep saying comfortable, but we're comfortable as a team utilizing ETC's tools to initiate and to peel. I would imagine the same is true here for Echo Squad Gaming. Manatap that obviously is going to go for what I would call a non-traditional comp on the other side, I would guess. Tassadar in his rework is not a solo support, and most of the content creators and high-level players think that his most viable build is a damage build anyway. So I would imagine that's why the Kerosene is there. Vala and Brightwing selected on the other side. Vala is spectacular, does a lot of damage, and Brightwing's global, and tools are excellent as well. I really want to see what Manatap that does with the rest of this draft. A Varian pickup leads me to believe that they're looking at Tracer. Tassadar Tracer is a thing. Varian counters Tracer pretty hard with the taunt. So the Varian to me says we see a Tracer coming the other way. And if I were the banner on Echo Squad Gaming, Tracer is my ban right here.
Yeah, with the Tassadar, I mean, it could be. It could also be for an Illidan as well, because taunt is really, really good against Illidan.
True.
So, but you know, you wouldn't really want to draft Illidan into a Brightwing with Polymorph. Somebody in the chat asked why this is the best of 3. All of the divisions in Season 4 of Chair League, every single match that happens now, players get to decide whether that night they want to play a best of 1 or whether they want to play a best of 3.
Except for the Pro Division, which is automatically best of 3.
There you go. Except for the Pro Division.
So
I
basically,
think it's a pretty cool change.
I agree. And there's the Tracer ban. We could see an Illidan as a good kind of fallback plan. They both accomplish kind of the same type of thing.
And with with a Kharazim popping in with an Illidan and with possibly even a Tyrael at that point, it doesn't become bad to have an Illidan into a Brightwing because she's got too many things to polymorph, and she can only use it so many times.
Sure.
And the Illidan is good with his evasion against the Vala, so I'm gonna be super interested to see what they pick up here. I would say non-traditional was the right word, opening up the draft that way, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see something towards traditional from now on in this draft, because oh man, see, this is something that they've pulled out at HGC a couple times, and Zul'jin is a beast
With Tassadar.
I mean, you have a double dive with Diablo Kharazim. You're probably going to have Iron Fists and Seven-Sided Strike coming out. Massive amounts of damage from not only the Zul'jin, but like you said, from the Tassadar at the same time, not as massive, but massive enough. And you can round this off with pretty much any hero, and it will complement this team over here. I'm sure they're scratching their heads over here at Echo Squad Gaming. I would be doing the same thing, trying to figure out ways to deal with what's going on over there. We've already drafted our support in Brightwing, so Malfurion's not going to be really that valuable here, but Alarak and Samuro are going to come out. And these I actually really like at the same time. Alarak doesn't have a very strong win rate right now. However, he is good at shutting down those heroes who have to go in to initiate your Sonias, your Diablos, your Illidans. That silence is a really, really powerful tool. The Samuro is a really powerful tool against the Zul'jin, because so far we have all these people who are diving in and trying to get people moving in their direction. And the Samuro kind of just interrupts everything that happens there. I mean, it's hard to draft a Samuro to a Tassadar knowing that he's got that vision. The counterplay is easy enough as a Samuro specifically, but with a Kael'thas on the other side as well, you're just asking for living bomb spreads the entire game.
I have a few thoughts on these comps. One, I wonder if the Varian ban, they never had Tracer in mind at all. If it was just to bait out the Tracer ban, is certainly a possibility. The Alarak selection, the telekinesis combined with ETC's initiation tools are a really nice combination together. I really like Alarak ETC together. On the other side, Samuro can go after KT and Zul'jin, of course. However, KT's Living Bomb is now being thrown into a triple melee with mirror images, and that's a lot of Living Bomb spread. I almost want to see from Echo Squad Gaming here maybe more of a macro approach to the map rather than team fighting. Samuro is maybe the best Merker in the game, so he can put a lot of pressure on the map by taking Merc camps and giving things for the opposing team to respond to. And then, of course, with Brightwings Global, this is definitely one of the more unique opposing compositions we've seen in a Chair League game, and really looking forward to it. Blue team, mana tap that. We have Wafflecopter on Zul'jin, Bingo Bronson on Tassadar, Gildaric on Diablo, Alpha Wolf on Kharazim, and Snow Wabbit on Kael'thas.
And for Echo Squad Gaming, we're going to have Noldat on ETC, Barber on Alarak, Senlar on Brightwing, Azrek on Vala, and Kale on Samuro. Let's see. We're going to have KT going with his Convection build here.
Not surprising.
I think you called it out here. I think maybe Samuro was drafted in order to Merc for these guys.
Great initiation on the Zul'jin there.
From the Alarak. A beautiful follow-up from Power Slide from the ETC. The Samuro just picked Way of the Blade as his first talent, which gives him a more frequent critical strike, which is more useful for doing camps than the other talent that I think requires him to be viable in a solo Hero League meta, which is way of the illusion, which gives Samuro bonus attack damage. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Samuro a lot this game. He doesn't have to be active in battle in order to get value out of his level 1 talent here. He's pushing the limits down there at bottom, trying to get carries in though. We have a pretty even split for both of these teams, 2 for each in the top, and Power Slide is going to hold off that flanking Zul'jin long enough to get a telekinesis out and silence on him. He's going to go down. ETC is going to rotate back down on mid here. It looks like Samuro is trying to lane against the KT at bottom with very little health, so I'm not sure. He's just going to go back for right now.
Yeah, it looks like ETC is going to come take the lane over. That was that ETC telekinesis combo I was talking about that secured the Zul'jin kill there. It's really a lot of single target isolation, and if the follow-up is there, it can be pretty brutal. You know, this macro style that we're saying Echo Squad Gaming can try to pull off, ETC needs to be very careful. Tanks are a little bit of a tough target, but a really nice gank there by Mana Tap that. That macro style, play the map and try to team fight left is much harder to execute than the let's win the team fight and win the game thing. So I'm really interested to see how this game goes. 1 for 1 in kills. Echo Squad Gaming with a small advantage in the early soak.
You know, it's a really hard way to play the game as well when you don't have enough solo laners so that the Samuro can be free to do what he needs to do. So far, we've wasted almost 40 seconds. Samuro's going to try to go over to the
It's too late, though.
Here to try to take a few minutes. Now we have Curse popping up. And Echo Squad Gaming might actually just give this up in order to get a little bit of level advantage and to get some map pressure at the same time. Not a bad move, to be completely honest. The first tribute is, you know, usually spells out how the rest of those next couple tributes are going to go. But in this case, Echo Squad says we have a little bit of a lead. We want to keep that lead, possibly extend it, and at the very least get pressure on places where we know that Mana Tap that's not going to be right now.
I like the shot calling there for Echo Squad Gaming. A lot of teams will do what they did there. Oh, Diablo dives through the wall. He was able to get out okay. But a lot of teams do what Echo Squad Gaming did there, which is they soak the lanes and stall the tribute. But it's very common to see teams get greedy and overextend that, and they didn't. They stalled just long enough to get a little bit of extra soak. Granted, now they're losing it because this top lane is getting crushed so hard. Brightwing is going to go down by the initiation from Diablo. Second tribute has popped, and with it popping on Mana Taps that side of the map, once again, Echo Squad Gaming is going to have to concede the second tribute.
Vala hasn't moved from mid lane at all because she knows what's going on in these 2 tributes so far that have popped up. They're gonna just stay in mid and try to soak it out. I'm surprised so far. Like I said, it's really hard to play a macro map when you do not have really good solo laners, and I mean really good. You don't just need decent, you need pretty darn good solo laners. So if you swap out that ETC for a Johanna, swap out that Brightwing for a Malfurion, I can maybe see how they would want to play it that way. But right now, we're watching Zul'jin take a free fort up at top because they have that little pressure everywhere else on the map where Samuro can't be.
And because Alarak was picked off there with the Bush Party, Mana Tap that rather than getting the tribute actually sat in the bushes and waited for Alarak to come too far forward. They knew that Echo Squad Gaming wasn't even going to contest the tribute and played it as such, got a free kill on the Alarak.
Smart by them. Back to soaking, we have ETC matching Diablo down here. They're getting somewhat equal push down there at bottom, but not enough. They don't have a fort yet like they do on Mana Tap that side. Bottom tribute for the first time. ETC is probably going to rotate up there and try and get it. Mana Tap that's getting a little distracted by some ganks in mid, and it's going to rotate down here. ETC's already starting channel. We have Karazim and Tassadar with the delay, the Diablo being blocked out by both the Alarak and the Samuro, really well done by both of them. Now we can have a little bit of a skirmish here. We have both our even levels, stun coming out onto Karazim, not going to be able to do anything like that. Samuro getting real low as well as ETC. And Karazim and Tassadar can just keep going and keep going. It doesn't matter what you throw at that front line. There's just nothing you can do to stop it. They just got ETC on the chase, the two of them. That was fantastic.
What I saw there is maybe the difference in these comps, which is Brightwing cannot keep up with the Kael'thas damage output. There was one Q right in the middle of that caught about 3 members of Echo Squad Gaming, and after that, their health bars were just too low to continue to fight.
Well, the same thing with the Zul'jin too. I mean, that's some massive auto attack damage too. That is just constantly coming. I mean, you can't heal it if you're a Brightwing. You just can't out heal it.
So once again, Manatap that in early control. They've taken all 3 of the first tributes and are pushing on Keep Balls in the center. Echo Squad Gaming not too far behind in level, about 1 level, but structurally they are at a loss. Looks like we are looking at an Alarak flank initiation followed by a Mosh Pit Blade Storm. Excellently done by Echo Squad Gaming. They're definitely caught Manatap that on the back foot. Kael'thas goes down. Zul'jin goes down. Diablo going down. That was really, really well executed there by Echo Squad Gaming. They had Alarak in perfect flanking position, along with ETC and Blade Storm, all in perfect harmony. A beautiful team fight initiation there by Echo Squad Gaming.
That was fantastic from them right there. I would have not called pushing on the keep right there.
That was a little
for
greedy.
that reason specifically, because there's a serious wombo that exists there on the side of Echo Squad. I don't know if you noticed, but there's also like the strafe that comes out, and then there's the charge that Alarak didn't even use the deadly charge, and that would have been a butt ton of damage that would have come out on some of those squishies on the back line, and some of those people that were caught in that mosh pit too. So that was just super well done by them. They rotate up, take their boss, trying to get some pressure back, trying to get some XP back.
Zul'jin in trouble.
On the Zul'jin, followed by the power slide. He's going to Taz Dingo on Alarak, and he's actually going to be able to take him down.
Because of the Tassadar shields.
Yeah, that last second little Tassadar shield that came in there.
You know, I think that was, to be honest, a little bit of overconfidence in that mid push by Manatap. That they've really been controlling both of these games, maybe getting a little too comfortable, and a little. I'm going to say a little bit of a message sent by Echo Squad Gaming. You know, don't take us for granted, even though we're a little bit on behind. We're still in this, and that was very impressive on their part.
Yeah, it was exactly what they needed to say with their gameplay, and when exactly they needed to say it. So it was a really well done by them. I'm surprised that Manatap hasn't rotated down to try to get their own boss, but perhaps they're trying to bait out some more picks before that happens, or possibly even wait out the next tribute. Karazim taking an aggressive position while KT tries to flank from behind. APOC goes out, not going to land on anybody. ETC coming in from the back. A silence goes out onto Karazim, and Blade Storm's going to come out as well, trying to kill that Karazim up. He's gonna warp into a 4-man mosh pit that comes out, gets canceled. Diablo just pushed into the back line way too far. He got silenced, he got pushed back in, finally got killed. This is finally the opportunity for Echo Squad Gaming to come around. They've got a tribute that just popped here. This is going to be an easy take for them. If I were Manatap that, I'd probably take a boss right now, which looks like they're forming up to do.
Especially because Echo Squad needs to respond to that push in the top lane.
You have so much pressure from Manatap that you probably give up the trips for the rest of the game.
They did not boss though. KT in trouble. Nice Discord strike. Kael'thas running for his life. Alarak, ETC, both on the pursuit. He's just out of reach of that power slide. Divine Palm onto Kael'thas. He does manage to stay alive despite very nearly getting picked. And Samuro goes down on the backside with Zul'jin and Diablo flanking. This is a really close game right now, 6 kills to 6 kills. Structurally, Manatap that at an advantage, but Echo Squad Gaming with a couple of really nice plays and have won the last 2 5-on-5 team fights, so they're certainly not in a bad position.
They took their advantage when they had it. Manatap that getting a little aggressive with rotations, and that's why you see some of those picks coming out. But we're going to go ahead and rotate on our boss finally. At least one tribute picked up, so then the next one becomes a little bit more valuable, so they probably want some counter pressure, and this boss is heading towards a keep right now.
You know what I will say in that second 5-on-5 team fight where both teams just went all out and only Diablo died, I think what I've said is the number one thing I see in pro games is how long those teams will just go at it with all of these abilities and heroics used and nobody dies. And I think that's kind of a hallmark of high-level play, and at least for that one fight, both of these teams showed that. There was a lot of damage going out, a lot of heroics being used, and nobody could get the finishing touches there. Right wing in trouble. He is so that living bomb is going to finish him off. No, very close.
He got rooted from the boss, and then he got a full KT combo with some bullshit damage in there. He just needed to get a couple more auto attacks off. He would have had that, right? 16 probably going to be picked up here for Manatap. That they're pushing in on bottom keep right now. They want bottom keep at least the wall, I'm sure.
Well,
they've got enough damage. They've got enough wave pressure, or map pressure to know that they're not going to get a swift response from Echo Squad. But if this starts to go any longer, Mosh Pit is up, and we already know how this works out when Manatap overstays their welcome.
Yeah, they're really taking advantage of the 16.
Diablo on to the Vala. She's going to get slowed as well. Mosh Pit goes in, gets all 4 members that exist right there. Death charge going in. Phoenix coming out as well. Zul'jin's going to go down. ETC's going to go down. The rest of the members of Echo Squad are on the retreat, but Right Wing's going to get caught out by the Diablo. Alarak trying to get some silence damage, trying to save his keep. It's not going to happen. There's just too much damage on the side of Manatap, and the kerosene pressure is just immense. He keeps putting pressure on these backline heroes and not letting them get even a word in edgewise.
You know, Null, that on ETC has landed a couple of fantastic mosh pits. He's really been on point with his mosh pits. Unfortunately, Diablo has been just holding his APOC to simply counter it. So they haven't been able to hold that mosh pit for quite long enough to finish them off. You'll see a Tassadar shield come out, and these heroes on Manatap that are just so low on these initiations with Echo Squad Gaming just unable to quite finish it off, and that was so close to a big moment for Echo Squad Gaming. Manatap that is responding. They will be here in time. Kael'thas might be a little late. Echo Squad Gaming caught between an aggro boss and an angry Manatap that team. Not looking good for them. Alarak is the first to go down. Samuro is able to stealth away. ETC in trouble. Manatap that will steal this boss in addition to defeating Alarak, sending him back to the Hall of Storms.
Really, really, really good invasion call by Manatap then. Really smart, really well informed. There was so very little places for Echo Squad to be that the invasion was just the absolute right choice there.
And it was a little bit of an aggressive boss call too.
It was just a very aggressive boss call, especially when Manatap that has as many tributes as they do. And now they're going to pick up a curse, so we're going to have boss pushing in on 4 right now. Only 1 keep standing for
This is going to be
Echo
game.
Squad. Emerald just went down. ETC just went down. All the members of Echo Squad are gone. This is going to be the end of game 2 and our series going over to Manatap that.
Yeah, very dominant performance by Manatap that. These guys, I imagine, should be targeted for promotion out of Division 3. In my opinion, I've been casting since Season 2 and playing since Season 2, and these guys, to be honest, just don't play like a Division 3 team. I thought Echo Squad Gaming, especially that second game, played really well and had some really great moments in the game, just not quite able to pull it out. So a 2-0 victory for Manatap that. We do have our second game coming up, also a Division III game, and that will be North Esports versus, who are we playing here? North versus Hofflights Assemble in our second game, due to start here in about 10 minutes. So we will stay on a stream for that time while we wrap up the first set of the game.
I think you're right. Do we know how long Manatap that has been a team? Did they place themselves in Division III by any chance?
I imagine they probably did. One of the changes, of course, to Chair League this season is there are no placement games. It is self-placement. They did play 3 games last season. All were placement games, and they went 2-1, and they're 2-0 so far in Division III. So they are a fairly new team. They just got in right at the tail end of last season. So this is only their...
Yeah, so they probably did place themselves.
Right, yeah, they did. Because 2-1 would have, if they would have gone off their placement from their placement games last season, 2-1 would have actually put them into Division II.
Right. I was about to say they probably seemed like a Division II, probably a higher end of Division II team.
Yeah, and we play in Division II. I've played in Division 1, 2, and 3. And they just they don't pass the smell test for a Division III team. They're just too good for that. And I thought Echo Squad Gaming, to be honest, looks maybe too good for Division III too. They were really solid. I thought that second game in particular, they were very impressive.
Yeah, we saw some good stuff out of them. I don't think that as much as they kind of got stomped in this series, I don't think it should really discourage any of those team members too much. They played pretty well. We have some really good ETC play coming out in that second game. And the second game was a lot better than the first game for Echo Squad. And they definitely showed that. I'm not sure if that was maybe a drafting error for the second game, or maybe it just came down losing too much pressure too early because they gave up those first tributes. But they could have turned that game around, I feel like.
Yeah, I said that second game in particular, I'm going to hone in on their execution on their heroics was really good. Better than a lot of the teams we've played against, and that's something we struggle with as a team. They did it better than we do. So, I mean, Echo Squad Gaming, nothing to be ashamed of there. I thought they had a really good showing.
If you would you have any maybe words of wisdom, things to avoid in the future, or maybe some tips in terms of what Echo Squad Gaming should have done to hold on to that game a little bit longer?
That's a good question. Honestly, I think that game was more both, especially the first game, but both games were really a result of, I think, the level of the players and the team. There was that team fight at the bottom that I highlighted where neither team seemed to die, and a number of team fights where Echo Squad was so close. They were just so close to getting a decisive win, and they were never able to, other than the one right in the middle of the game. If they were able to do that once or twice more, that game really could have flip-flopped easily. That's a bummer. Kick's telling me in chat that North's opponent has forfeited. They do officially have another few minutes, so we'll hang out maybe. But it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So what I started to say was there were a couple picks in the early kind of laning phase of the game. And when you're playing against a really good team like Manatap that obviously is. You really have to be aware of their absence on the map, especially if you're by yourself in lane, and especially if you're a hero that doesn't have great escape mechanics. So I would say that would be maybe an area that they could focus in on, because they lost some soak, and maybe that one level difference could have been made up for there, and maybe those team fights that were really close, if they're even in level instead of one level down, that one level can make a difference, as small as it is. So that would be my area. I would focus in on them. And most Division 3 teams aren't going to make the swift rotations and sharp end gauges that Manatap that did. So generally in Division 3, I think how they played it, they would be fine. But if you want to improve as a team and get better and be able to compete with really good teams, those are the little adjustments that you have to make. And I think in general, a lot of teams lane a little bit too aggressively and are susceptible to being caught out and picked off.
Yeah, I think that there's a couple heroes that come to mind in terms of, okay, if this hero has a level lead, even if it's just one level lead, they will start to become much more dangerous than they would be normally. And one of those heroes is Diablo, for sure. Paired with something like a Tassadar, who also happens to be that one level ahead, it makes a lot of sense why they were going for those early rotations. They were going for really, really, really aggressive calls, like that staying in mid that, turned around on them. Because Diablo can afford to do that when he's up on level. He gets resistance. He's going to have a shield. He's also going to have a healer right next to him that's diving in with him. That becomes very, very scary. And it's the same thing like if there's a Johanna on the other team and you guys are down level, like that Johanna just feels completely impossible to kill. And at the same vein, that KT is doing more damage, and so is Zul'jin. I would agree with you. I think for a large part of that game, they weren't paying attention to rotations and making sure that picks weren't happening for the other team. Because once those picks start to roll out, that's when the level lead, and that's when it starts to become really, really dangerous, and the game starts to kind of come out of hand, which of course it did here. So yeah, I think I would agree with that. I think the other thing is I think the macro play on the map was something that they were going for, but weren't able to execute because they didn't have enough heroes with wave clear.
And the picks too. You can't get picked if you're trying to do that macro game.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Once one person goes down in one of those lanes, that just puts several wrenches in the cog that is trying to do that macro game. So it becomes just a massive endeavor to try to overcome this level lead while also playing the macro game and trying to get camps all over the place.
We do a replay analysis stream Monday nights, and one of the first things we do when we do those replays is we look at the two comps. And when you're kind of in the game deciding how far forward you want to step in this laning phase, looking at who the other team has is something you need to do. You don't see Tyrande anymore, but back in the day you had these Diablo Tyrande comps all the time, and you just cannot be aggressive in your laning phase when the other team has pick potential like Manatap that does. So that's something you need to do. Look at the other team's comp. If they don't have a pick comp, maybe you can be a little more aggressive, but if they do, that's something you really need to be aware of as well.
And it was something they showed so early on. One of their first picks was on ETC, where Kharazim rushed in on him completely through tower range, getting hit by both towers multiple times. And he was totally free to do that because he had the healing, he had the sustain to get through that and come out the other side and be totally fine. And so that's another scary thing where you have to understand, like, Kharazim is such an interesting place right now, because if you look at the score screen, if you still have it up, he did less than 18,000 damage, going a damage build, going with Iron Fist at first, but just the presence of Karazim alone on the back line, just that very person throwing out punches and being a force to reckon with, allowed Manatap that to like push their engagements wherever they wanted them, to follow through on that Diablo dive really, really, really well. And that's something that you kind of get used to how characters work the longer that you play the game, and then they go and switch them all up and change them for
the ever-changing meta, yeah.
and then you have to relearn everything all over again.
The other thing we didn't touch on too much, those last team fights that were just so close, where I said Echo Squad was just, they were just right there of really having a decisive team fight win. The other factor, other than the slight level difference, Tassadar shields and Divine Palm on Karazim were a huge factor. There were 2 or 3 palms that I could think of off the top of my head that really prevented disaster from Manatap, that in the context of those team fights, without those Divine Palms, those really could have gone the other way.
It was really smart for him to go Palm instead of 7-sided strike.
For sure.
I called out earlier. You don't have tanks except for ETC on the other side, so it makes sense not to go 7-sided strike. But it was way, the Palm turned out to be super valuable. It's the reason why Karazim has 0 deaths on their team, is only because he got off a really, really good Palm on his side. He got off a great Palm on Diablo that literally turned around an engagement for them. So yeah, there was some really, really good palm play out from the Karazim in this game.
And going back to analyzing team comps in the beginning of the game to figure out how, if there's any, most players when they pick a hero, they have kind of a set build that they like for the most part, but you need to be able to alter that based on the map and the comps. And that was well done by Karazim to look at Echo Squad's comp. They have an ETC and they have an Alarak, and those 2 heroes together are capable of isolating somebody out pretty capably for blow up. And one of the counters to that is, of course, Palm. Even if they don't proc the Palm and they stop attacking him, he still gets away because they aren't attacking him anymore, right? So the Palm selection was very solid.
The Karazim build all around was really good. He also went Earth Ally at 4. Which is the reason why Samuro turned out to be a really bad pick in this game, in this draft specifically. If you see Karazim like first pick like that, you should have it in your mind that certain types of heroes start to become super, super unvaluable for you to have on your team. If you have a Tassadar and a Karazim, no stealthies whatsoever. No Zeratul, no Valeera.
That brings an interesting discussion, though, that you kind of led me down the road of. So we're looking at Echo Squad's comp. Let's look at it in isolation and forget what Manatap that had. With the Alarak and the ETC and the Samuro, either these guys have been playing long enough to just have that synergy together, or it's something they've clearly been working on, because those 3 in particular really synergize their ults really well at the end of that team fight. So in the context of a draft, they pick Samuro last. As a team, do you look at it as, well, we know we have this thing that we play really, really well together, and it's not ideal because they have a Karazim and a Tassadar, but it's what we do well. Do you select that hero simply because you know your team does it so well, or do you go away from it to something that maybe you're not quite as good at because they have the counters to your one hero? And I can see arguments for it both way, but it's a really interesting discussion as far as draft theory crafting.
Especially when you consider the environment that you're in. If it's like a Hero League type of thing where it's solo queue only, it starts to become a little bit different.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
always want you to pick your best hero pretty much. In a competitive environment like this, I would have to say that you have to pay attention to drafts more so than comfortability. Not even more so than comfortability, but more so than what you understand your capabilities as a player to be, because you literally don't know until you get into that situation where You have to pick something that you as a player may not be comfortable with, but just absolutely rocks the crap out of that draft that you guys just had. And sometimes that is enough to actually teach you that hero, or to give you the skills to enable you to have that hero in your toolbox. Um, I, in a competitive environment, I think drafts are something you just can't ignore. I mean, it's how many times do we get Malv, and we form a really good comp around something that's just basic in general, right? A great healer with a spammable heal that does great preparation healing. It does great fill up. He's a mana battery. He's got one of the best CCs in the game. I mean, starting out with Malf is like one of the best things that you can do for your draft, right? If we didn't have anybody who plays Malf as well as Andrew does, I would still be saying we should be first picking Malf, just because he's that strong of a hero. So I can kind of understand why you would say maybe let's just take what we know works for us, because A, we practiced it, and B, we know what that feels like. But I don't think that should be the deciding factor. I think your deciding factor in a competitive environment like this should be what works for the draft, and what's going to work for what you're drafting, and as a counter to what the other team's drafting.
Yeah, and like I said, I can really see both arguments, and it's hard to speak specifically for teams, because we don't know the last player for Echo Squad. We don't know what he has in his toolbox. Maybe he just didn't have something that worked better than Samuro did, right? We don't know what heroes he plays and what heroes he doesn't plays. I mean, for those of us who are playing casually competitive, we don't play all the heroes. I mean, you and I both have a pretty varied hero pool, but we don't play all of them. So maybe there's that one hero that fits perfectly, but it doesn't matter if you don't play him.
Right. This is absolutely true. And so in that kind of case, you're not supposed to pick that hero.
Right. Yeah. In that case, you just roll with what you know. Yeah, we know it's not ideal, but we're good at it. So let's get her done.
Right. So you're right. Maybe it was that case. Maybe he was down to his last hero. But yeah, if it's something that they want to improve on, I don't think it's something that they should ignore either.
Of course not. Yeah, of course. So we are officially, unfortunately, our second match will officially be a forfeit, and that's a bummer. Of course, we know the guys from North. I play with them occasionally, so anytime I get a chance to cast those guys, I try to do it. So only one game this week for us, and thanks everybody for tuning in for our first set. Hope everybody has a wonderful evening, and we will see you in the Nexus. Have a great night.
Take care, everybody.